of irresponsible persons that you are also investigating the death of Lane Fleming." "Well?" Rand asked patiently. "Are you afraid people will start calling that a murder, too?" Gladys was looking at him apprehensively, as though she were watching him juggle 4 live hand grenades. "Is anybody saying that now?" Varcek asked sharply. "Not that I know of," Rand lied. "But if Goode keeps on denying it, they will." "You know perfectly well," Goode exploded, "that I am alluding to these unfounded and mischievous rumors of suicide, which are doing the Premix Company so much harm." "My God, Mr. Rand, can't you realize—" "Oh, come off it, Goode," Varcek broke in amusedly. "We all, Colonel Rand included, know that you started those rumors yourself. Very clever to start a rumor by denying it, but scarcely original. Dr. Goebbels was doing it almost 20 years ago." "My God, is that true?" Nelda demanded. "You mean he's been going around starting all these stories about Father committing suicide?" She turned on Goode like an enraged panther. "Why, you lying old son of a bitch!" she screamed at him. "Of course. He wants to start a selling run on Premix," Varcek explained to her. "He's buying every share he can get his hands on. We all are." He turned to Rand. "I'd advise you to buy some, if you can find any, Colonel Rand. In a month or so, it's going to be a really good thing." "I know about the merger. I am buying," Rand told him. "But are you sure of what Goode's been doing?" "Of course," Gladys put in contemptuously. "I always wondered about this suicide talk. I couldn't see why Humphrey was so perturbed about it. Anything that lowered the market price of Premix, at this time, would be to his advantage." She looked at Goode as though he had 6 legs and a hard shell. "You know, Humphrey, I can't say I exactly thank you for this." "Did you know about it?" Nelda demanded of her husband. "You did! My God, Fred, you are a filthy specimen!" "Oh, you know, anything to turn a dishonest dollar," Geraldine piped up. "Like the late Arnold Rivers' $10,000 offer. Say, I wonder if that mightn't be what Rivers died of, raising the price and leaving Fred out in the cold." Dunmore simply stared at her, making a noise like a chicken choking on a piece of string. "Well, all this isn't my opinion," Rand said to Gladys. "I only work here. Deo gratias, and I still have some work to do." With that, he walked past Goode and Dunmore and ascended the spiral stairway to the gunroom. Even at the desk in the far corner of the room, he could hear them going at it, hammer and tongs, in the library. Sometimes it would be Nelda's strident shrieks that would dominate the bedlam below. Sometimes it would be Fred Dunmore roaring like a bull. Now and then, Humphrey Goode would rumble something, and once in a while he could hear Gladys's trained and modulated voice. Usually, any remark she made would be followed by outraged shouts from Goode and Dunmore, like the crash of falling masonry after the whip crack of a tank gun. At first, Rand eavesdropped shamelessly, but there was nothing of more than comic interest. It was just a routine parade and guard mount of the older and more dependable family skeletons, with special emphasis on Humphrey Goode's business and professional ethics. When he was satisfied that he would hear nothing having any bearing on the death of Lane Fleming, Rand went back to his work. After a while, the tumult gradually died out. Rand was still typing when Gladys came up the spiral and perched on the corner of the desk, picking up a long brass-barreled English flintlock and hefting it. "You know, I sometimes wonder why we don't all come up here, break out the ammunition, pick our weapons, and settle things," she said. "It never was like this when Lane was around. Oh, Nelda and Geraldine would bare their teeth at each other once in a while, but now this place has turned into a miniature Iwo Jima. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to take it. I'm developing combat fatigue." "It's snowing," Rand mentioned. "Let's throw them out into the storm." "I can't. I have to give Nelda and Geraldine a home as long as they live," she replied. "Terms of the will. Oh, well, Geraldine'll drink herself to death in a few years, and Nelda will elope with a prizefighter sometime." "Why don't you have the house haunted? The Tri-State Agency has an excellent house-haunting department. Anything you want. Poltergeist apparitions, cold, clammy hands in the dark, footsteps in the attic, clanking chains and eldritch screams, banshees. Any three for the price of two. It wouldn't work. Geraldine is so used to polka-dotted dinosaurs and little green men from Mars that she wouldn't mind an ordinary ghost. And Nelda'd probably try to drag it into bed with her." She laid down the pistol and slid off the desk. "Well, pleasant dreams. I'll see you in the morning." After she had left the gunroom, Rand looked at his watch. It was a very precise instrument, a Swiss military watch with a sweep second hand and 2 timing dials. It had formerly been the property of an Obergruppenführer of the SS, and Rand had appropriated it to replace his own, broken while choking the Obergruppenführer to death in an alley in Palermo. He zeroed the timing dials and pressed the start button. Then he stood for a time over the old cobbler's bench, mentally reconstructing what had been done after Lane Fleming had been shot, after which he hurried down the spiral and along the rear hall to the garage, where he snatched his hat and coat from the car. He threw the coat over his shoulders like a cloak and went on outside. He made his way across the lawn to the orchard, through the orchard to the lawn of Humphrey Goode's house, and across this to Goode's side door. He stood there for a few seconds, imagining himself opening the door and going inside. Then he stopped the timing hands and returned to the Fleming house, locking the garage doors behind him. In the garage, he looked at the watch. It had taken exactly 6 minutes and 22 seconds. He knew that he could move more rapidly than the dumpy lawyer, but to balance that, he had been moving over more or less unfamiliar ground. He left his hat and trench coat in the car and went upstairs. Undressing, he went into the bathroom in his dressing gown, spent about 20 minutes shaving and taking a shower, and then returned to his own room. End of chapter 16.